There it goes. Good morning, everyone. Let's see. All right. Now I can come back over here. Good morning, Joyanne. How are you? Can you hear me okay? Just want to make sure. Okay, thank you. I'm going to let a few more people get in here before we get started. Not going to be on here real long today. If y'all will, please smash that like and share this out. Okay. Hello, NRS Juggalo. How are you? So today we're going to go back to the real first serial killers series that we do, and we're going to be talking about Stephen Dee Richards. So if you're here for just the podcast, after this is over with and you're watching the replay, the actual time for the podcast will be in the pinned comments of the comment section. That way you can go directly to the podcast if you don't want to listen to all the other announcements and stuff. Hi, Bud Files. How are you this morning? Hi, Jan. How are you, sis? How is everyone doing today? That's good, Jan. Jan, you need to check and see if we're still friends on Facebook, because I went through and cleared out all my Facebook and I had several for you, and I'm not sure if I kept the right one. So send me a message after the live stream or something so I can make sure that I still have you on there. All right, so we're going to go on in with the prayer list. Remember, if you need any more prayers or anything like that, we also have a group on Facebook called Prayer Request. You can join that at any time and let us know what prayers you need. So today we're praying for, of course, keep me and Coty in your prayers. For my oldest daughter, Victoria. Prayers for my mom and dad. April's mom and dad and her whole family. And also April, that she's going to be having surgery again soon on her shoulder. Steph Layne, Debbie and her family, Melissa and Patrick and their family, Shayna and Danny, Kimberly Adair, prayers for her at the loss of their brother, but also she has some stuff coming up medically that she has to get done, so prayers for her. Savannah's grandmother, that's my sister-in-law, and also Kim Lemons that comes in here, that's her mother-in-law. Prayers for her. Everyday Treasure and family for Charmaine and Aaliyah. Prayers for them. Vodka Vamp and her mom and her whole entire family. Sam's Pretty Paranormal. Jen from Eddie and Jen's Vlogs and Then Some. Ghost Mafia's family and friends. Sarah Hardy. Sandra's dad Andre. Robin Tammy. Wendy's son and also Wendy. Buddy's family. Betty lost her brother, so please keep them in your prayers. Jen from Taro and Tea. Loretta Houston. Louisa, who is recovering from surgery, and also for her mama. For Jenna, aka Honeybubs, and for Pat and Jenny McGinnis. And we also have a couple more that are on the list over there. Let me see if I can bring that up real quick. I don't know if I'm going to be able to or not. Michelle Kuhn. Keep her in your prayers for her health. I know there's a lot of people going through it right now. Also keep in our town the family of Bryce Dingler in your prayers. The Dingler family, they lost their son. Dear Heavenly Father, please hear our prayers for the sick members in our community and for all those in need. You know what those needs are. Show your mercy as you close wounds, cure illness, and make broken souls whole again. Thank you for the amazing people you have in this community who are constantly battling for those around them. Thank you for the people you have put in our path. We thank you for all that you do and all that you are. In your name, amen. Like I said, if you have any prayers that you need, go to our prayer request group, or you can message me or anybody in our little group here, and they will get it to me. Our bi-weekly shout-out winner this time was Amanda Barrett, and she chose to shout out Epic Adventures with Double D. So make sure you go and check out his channel. Lots of amazing adventures over there, and you want to be sure and be there for him. He's got a lot coming up. Let's see. I'm going to re-announce the Project Christmas that we have for the girls at the rehab center. If you would like to purchase anything for those stocking bags that we're doing for them for Christmas, you can go to the link that's in the description, and it says Project Christmas, and it takes you to the Amazon wish list, and you can purchase any of those items. Just make sure you let me know what you have purchased. That way I can make sure I mark it off our list. And thank you, Joyanne, for your purchase as well. We appreciate it so much. And we also have a new business started, me and my mom, and hopefully my girls are going to want to be part of it as soon as we get it going off the ground good. But it's called I Get It From My Mama. We have a Facebook group, and we're going to be doing a live stream Friday night. And we're going to have customizable gifts that are homemade, all different kinds of things that are customizable, and just cute little gifts that you can get and win. So check that out if you'd like to. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get on in with this. Like I said, I don't want to be on here real long. So if anybody comes in while I'm going on this, Joyanne, if you could let them know that I'm going to be reading, and I will say hello when I get done. Hello, E.T. You came in just in time to get a hello. And no, we can't help you with that. Because just wear your holy ones. Alright. So, Stephen Dee Richards was born in Wheeling, Virginia on March 18th, 1856. He was said to have had 5 sisters and a brother. When Richards was 6, his family relocated to Ohio, first to Monroe County and then to Noble County. The family later settled in Quaker Village in Mount Pleasant, in Ohio, when he was 11. Richards later described his mother as a devout Methodist and his father a farmer, as having made no profession of religion. Richards attended school in Mount Pleasant and claimed that the teachers considered him well behaved. At his mother's insistence, he also attended Sunday school and church regularly. Up until the age of 20, Richards lived with his parents, working for farmers and other locals in the area. On September 16, 1871, Richards' mother died of an unknown cause. At the age of 20, Richards met and became engaged to a young woman named Anna Milhorn, with whom he regularly corresponded during his later travels, up until his final arrest. Richards also met men whom he described as being a questionable occupation. He began passing counterfeit bills he obtained from a man in New York City. In February 1876, he left Mount Pleasant, heading west for better career opportunities. For a short time, Richards lived in Iowa, working as a farmhand in Burlington and Morning Sun. He was later hired as an attendant at the Iowa Lunatic Asylum in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, tasked with burying deceased patients. I think that can make anybody crazy. The New York Times wrote that Richards' time working at the asylum was a significant event in his life that shaped his own humanity and view of the human race. While he denied witnessing any abuse at the asylum, he later reflected that during his tenure of handling and disposing of deceased patients, he became accustomed to viewing people as nothing more than meat. Richards left the asylum in October of 1876 and began drifting around the Midwestern United States, finding intermittent work and occasionally consorting with train robbers. He stayed in Kansas City briefly before moving on to Nebraska, where he passed through Hastings before arriving in Kearney, residing there for 2 or 3 weeks before leaving for Cheyenne County. According to Richards, he became involved in several gunfights during his stay, resulting in him shooting each individual, although he stated he was unaware of their conditions after each confrontation. During this period, Richards went under the name William Hudson, later discarding this once he reached Kansas City. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Marianne. Hi, Sandra. In a confession written after his final arrest, Richard admitted to having killed 4 men during his travels around Nebraska and Iowa between 1876 and 1877. He described committing the first murder sometime in the late 1876, 2 weeks after arriving in Kearney. According to Richards, he met a man while traveling on horseback through the Nebraska countryside, and the pair decided to camp for the night near Dobbytown. Several newspapers reported that 2 men's campsite was instead near Sand Hills. Settling down for the night, the 2 began gambling in a game of cards. With Richards winning most of the strangers' money. As the 2 set off for Kearney the following morning, the other man turned on Richards and demanded his money back. Richards refused, whereupon he claimed the other man became belligerent. Richards then shot him above the left eye, killing him instantly. After confirming the man was dead, he disposed of the body in the Platte River. Several days later, as he continued his trek to Kearney, Richards encountered another man 15 miles from an area called Walker's Ranch. The man had seen Richards and the previous traveler together, and the stranger asked what had become of the man. While talking to him, Richards realized that this man and the deceased were friends and business partners. Richards denied any knowledge of the dead man, but his friend continued to hound Richards with questions, which caused Richards to become increasingly anxious. Believing the man knew too much, Richard decided to kill the stranger to prevent any discovery of the murder. When the stranger turned his back on Richards, he was shot in the back of the head. He disposed of the corpse and sold the man's horse in a nearby town. Before reaching Kearney, Richard stopped at the home of Jasper Harrelson, who, according to Richards, was a train robber. Mary, Jasper's wife, noticed upon his arrival that Richard's shirt was stained with blood, and commented on it. Richards had not noticed blood on his clothes and claimed to have replied, as in jest, "It must have been come from the men that I had murdered." That ended the conversation. Of course it did. Hi, Florina. Hi, Sandra. After his stay, Richard traveled to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where he used counterfeit money to purchase a horse and buggy from an unidentified man. After he left, the seller discovered the bills were not genuine. Tracking Richards down, the seller demanded that Richards give him the real money or return his horse and buggy. With Richards refusing both demands, the man threatened to have him arrested, and Richard responded by shooting him. He then buried the body and left the area. In March 1877, Richards and a young man with the surname Gimge left Grand Island, Nebraska on horseback and headed towards Kearney. As they neared their destination, they stopped and camped for the night between Lowell and Kearney, along the Platte River. Richards woke up about 3 a.m. and roused his partner, telling him it was nearly morning and that they should get back on the road. Gimge, infuriated at being awakened so early, began arguing with Richards. The argument continued, as Richard later recounted. "It's a good thing you don't mean all you say," I said. "But I do mean it," he said. "You want to mean it." And he picked up his revolver and said, "Here is something that backs all that I say." He cocked the gun. I looked at him and thought, the fool's acts as if he meant to shoot. And skipping out of my little 33, I plugged him with one in the head. That was the first trouble we had ever had. They had only been together for a little bit. That was the first trouble they ever had. They had only been together for like not even a week. And so he shot him in the head. After leaving the area, Richards arrived in Kearney, registering under the name F.A. Hogue at the local hotel. During his stay, Richard reunited with several old acquaintances, George Dutch Henry Johnson and his companion Hurst, as well as a man who went by the name of Mr. Burns. On March 21st, Richard was arrested along with Burns, whom he had been spending most of his time with. At the time, both men were not told as to the reason for their arrest, although Richards came to suspect that it was for the murders of Gimge. It was later that they were notified by the authorities that they were under suspicion for murder of a man named Peter Getaway. That's a name, Getaway, Peter Getaway, whom Richards claimed his innocence over. Although Richards was soon acquitted, Burns was held in custody because of a testimony of a sporting lady whom he had previously been acquainted with. Burns, who would also be acquitted sometime later with no evidence found linking him to the crime. So it makes me wonder, because like so many people were arrested back then in those days. They were arrested and then they couldn't find enough evidence, so they just had to let them go. You say Peter get away all the time? All right. In June 1878, while in Kearney, Richards was arrested and jailed for larceny. He later claimed that this charge was unfounded. During his time in jail, he reunited with Mary L. Harrison. Shortly before Richards' arrival, she had been arrested under suspicion of having aided in the escape of her husband and other prisoners, named Underwood or Nixon, from the Kearney jail. Richards and Mary Harrison agreed that she would sell him the deed of her property six months later for $600. After Richards was released from jail, he traveled around Nebraska for several months. He did business in Hastings, Bloomington, Grand Island before arriving at the Harrelsons' Kearney County homestead on October 18, 1878. Mary Harrelson transferred the property to Richards upon his arrival, and he stayed there for several weeks. The New York Daily Herald later reported that Richards had married Harrelson on November 2nd, in what the newspaper alleged was a scam to acquire ownership of Harrelson's land. A month later, Richards decided to kill Harrelson and her 3 children, 10-year-old Daisy, 4-year-old Mabel, and 2-year-old Jasper, nicknamed Jesse. In his confession, Richards claimed that Harrelson had discovered that he was guilty of murder, and he feared that she might betray his presence to the authorities. To silence Harrelson and ensure that his previous crimes remained hidden, Richard resolved to murder the entire family. Lots of prayers, Sandra. We still have him on the prayer list, and we're asking for lots of them. You need to put it on the prayer request group on Facebook, too. Definitely be keeping you in our prayers and your dad. On November 3rd, 1878, Richards got up early in the morning, along with another man named Brown, who had been staying at the house. Brown left to feed the horses and complete each other's chores around the farm. Richards found a spade and dug a hole, then sneaked back into the house and murdered Mary, Daisy, Mabel, and Jessie with an axe. According to one report, Mary and one of the children were murdered with a smoothing iron, while the other two were physically assaulted. This claim was also reported by some modern-day sources, who graphically described Richards killing Jasper by bashing his head against the wall. However, these alternate details of the murders were refuted by Richards himself, saying he had killed the family while they were asleep. He said most of them had died after the first several blows, with the exception of Daisy. By Richards' own account, Richards was said to have scrubbed the blood off the floor and himself after the murders, before calmly sitting down to breakfast. After he had eaten, he carried the bodies out of the house and buried them in the hole he had dug nearby. When later questioned about the Harrelsons' disappearance, Richards had told several people the family had left with Brown, and he did not know when they would return. A 21st century account stated Richard had made claims of Harrelson transferring the deed of the farm to him, and subsequently left with her children to reunite with her husband. The bodies of Harrelson and her children were discovered on December 11th. Some reports said that they had been concealed underneath the haystack rather than buried, as Richard later claimed. On December 9, 1878, Richards agreed to help his neighbor, a 26-year-old immigrant from Sweden named Peter Anderson, with some work on Anderson's property. The Columbus Journal reported that Richards had used the alias Dick Richardson when working for Anderson. On December 9th, Anderson became ill after eating a meal Richards had prepared, causing him to suspect Richards had poisoned him. Anderson informed a neighbor of his suspicion. The next day, he confronted Richard. The two fought, and Richards either beat Anderson to death with a hammer or a hatchet, or he shot him. No one knows for sure. Anderson's body was later discovered in the cellar of his house, buried underneath a pile of coal. Richards strongly denied poisoning Anderson, saying that was not his style. He claimed Anderson had attacked him with a knife and that he killed Anderson in self-defense. Anderson was later buried in the Bethany Cemetery in Axtell, Nebraska. Richards fled Kearney shortly after Anderson's murder, expecting that the bodies would soon be discovered. In the evening, he was hitching up Anderson's horse and preparing to leave when some of Anderson's neighbors arrived. They had noticed Anderson's absence and questioned Richards about it. He reportedly told them that Anderson was inside the house. As Anderson's neighbor entered the dwelling, Richardson fled on horseback, riding to Bloomington. He traveled east by horse and train and on foot, passing through Omaha and Chicago. While on the run, he met up with Jasper Harrelson and Harrelson's fellow escaped prisoners. The three traveled through Wheeling, West Virginia, and into Ohio, passing through Bridgeport, before arriving in Richards' hometown of Mount Pleasant. Governor Silas Garber issued an arrest warrant for Richards on December 16, 1878, and promised a reward of $200 for his arrest and conviction. Most accounts state that on December 20th, after Richards' arrival in Mount Pleasant, he attended a ballroom dance accompanied by two unidentified women. Copies of a wanted poster featuring Richards had been circulated throughout the town recently, and Constable named McGrew recognized him from a poster. He enlisted the help of a penitentiary guard named Folge, The two men armed themselves with shotguns and set off after Richards. They found him walking through a field just outside the town with the two women. He was unarmed and quickly surrendered. Richards claimed that he had spotted the officers approaching him, intending to fight his way out of the situation. He told the women to head back to town. They refused, however, so Richard chose to surrender. He said that if the women had left, he would have avoided arrest. It's all over up that area. Ohio, West Virginia, Illinois. Let's see, yeah, Illinois, all up in that area. So I'm sure Indiana too. If I hadn't had the two girls with me, I guess the constable McGrew who arrested me would have been a dead man. Either of us would have, for I'd have shot. Richard said that if he had escaped, he would have gone to Nebraska, as he reasoned that it was the last place anyone would look for him. Some accounts differed from the dates and the places of Richard's arrest. So a lot of people say that he was arrested in one place, but other places say no, he was arrested here. So there's like a big fight over who gets to claim that they arrested him. All right, so after his arrest, Richard was jailed in Steubenville, Ohio. Let me tell you, some of these names are crazy. Steubenville, Ohio. While there, he wrote 2 articles for the local newspaper, confessing to 9 murders in a period of 3 years. Sheriff David Anderson of Buffalo County, Nebraska, and Sheriff Martin of Kearney County, both of whom had pursued Richards to Ohio, returned him to Nebraska. Due to the local public outrage, Anderson and Martin feared that Richards would be lynched if he were returned to any of the localities where he had committed his crimes. So it was decided to avoid taking him to these places initially. So why not just let the public do your dirty work? I mean, just give them to him. Richard's trial began on January 16, 1879, in Minden, Nebraska, with Judge William Gaslin presiding. The prosecution was led by a district attorney named Schofield. Richard's defense was led by a lawyer named Savage. Schofield laid out 2 indictments for murder in the first degree for the killings of the Hurlson family and Anderson. Richards pled not guilty, arguing that the Andersons' killing was in self-defense, therefore justifiable. Not if you're going to hide him under coal. Prosecution called 7 witnesses to the stand. They all testified to the state in which Anderson was found. Richards then was called to testify. When questioned by Schofield, he admitted to killing Anderson with a hammer after a heated argument, but reiterated that he had done so in self-defense. Richards said, although repeatedly warned not to do so, Anderson had reached for a nearby hatchet. The prosecution then entered into evidence the hammer that had been used to kill Anderson. Richards identified it as the murder weapon. After 2 hours of deliberation, the jury found Richards guilty of the murders of the Harrelsons and Anderson. He was sentenced to death by hanging, and his execution date was set for April 26, 1879. Richard was described as being a cheerful and indifferent to both the proceedings and his conviction. Richards managed to smuggle a knife into his cell with the intentions of using it to unalive himself, but the weapon was discovered by the authorities and confiscated before he could use it. Let's see. When Richards was returned to Nebraska, the Omaha Herald wrote that he manifested supreme indifference to his lot. He was perfectly willing to be brought direct to Kearney Junction and said that he had as soon died one way or another. After Richard's conviction, Sheriff Martin announced that his execution in Minden would be open to the public. even though Martin feared the attendance of large numbers of spectators could become violent. To prevent a riot, an enclosure was constructed around the gallows to separate the expected crowd from Richards. However, tickets that allowed admittance into the restricted area were sold. Richards was allowed to invite people. He chose members of the press whom he had befriended while in prison. One such ticket of admittance was recently discovered and is now in a collection at the Nebraska Historical Society. Hi, Amanda. So they built a deal so nobody could come around there, but then they sold tickets to people that wanted to come inside and be right there front and center. That's crazy. And so if you want to see that ticket, they have one at the Nebraska Historical Society. A ticket to see him get hanged. Spectators at the execution were said to have numbered between 2,000 and 25,000. Okay, that's a huge difference. So 2,000 and 25,000 is a huge difference of people. So I wonder, maybe they misprinted that and it was supposed to be 2,500. As the crowd became increasingly agitated, the authorities pleaded with them to stay outside the enclosure. But guards were unable to prevent the spectators from destroying the barrier. Of course. One witness in the incident, a man named Rolf Johnson, later wrote that 20 to 30 people in the crowd cut the rope as the authorities tried to stop the crowd. The mob proceeded to pull the post out of the ground, attempting to drag the makeshift barrier away, while the guards were pulling the rope on the other end in what Johnson described as a tug of war. The mob succeeded in pulling the rope away from the guards and then proceeded to destroy the barrier completely. At 1 p.m., Richards was led to the gallows by Martin and his deputy. This pacified the crowd. Upon ascending the gallows, Richard launched into an impassioned defense of his actions. He again claimed that the killings of Anderson was in self-defense and disavowed any involvement in the murders of the Harrelson family. He claimed that he was a victim of wrongful conviction. He then said that he found the Lord, made his peace with God, and had faith in Christ, and asked the crowd to join him in singing a hymn, "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing." One spectator documenting the event of the execution in his journal observed that Richards appeared calm and collected during the entire ordeal. Richards' final words were said to have been, "Jesus be with me now." At 1:17 p.m. on April 26, 1879, Richards was hanged. It took 15 minutes for him to fully, Richards was the first person in Nebraska history to be executed. Since its incorporation into the United States in 1867. Shortly after his execution, a photographer was able to capture a photograph of Richards' corpse propped up inside of a coffin. And they do have that picture on, like all the different websites. If you look up this deal, they have that picture posted. Local doctors hounded Richards before his execution, requesting him to donate his body for medical purposes. He refused and was buried in Minden. Despite his graveside being guarded, his corpse was stolen the night after his execution. The Sedalia Weekly suspected the doctors who wanted to examine him, but was returned to his resting place shortly thereafter. Sometime later, his body was dug up once again. This time, Richards' bones were scattered on the streets of Kearney. On November 1st, 1882, it was reported that Kearney Gazette County had obtained Richard's skull and placed it on display in the newspaper office window. This was the last reported mention of Richard's skull. Its present location and status is unknown. So his body was dug up there at the end too, and they just scattered his bones everywhere. And a newspaper had his skull, but after that, they don't know what happened to it. So, but yeah, this goes to show you that there were serial killers and psychos even back then. A lot of people they think the Wild West was just, oh, we're fighting over this, but I'm going to shoot you. But not everybody did that. If everybody did, there probably wouldn't be nobody left in the world. There was just those sociopaths and those psychos that needed to kill people, and so they did. And to me, those are serial killers. They are the first true serial killers. And this goes way back even before then. How is everyone doing today? All those that came in while I was reading, I'm sorry that I didn't get to greet you right away. This wasn't a real long one, but it's one that I've had on the back burner for a little bit. And I was going to do it as a video, but then I decided I was going to do the live stream, so I just kind of stuck it in there. All right, so just a reminder for everybody. Hi, Sobe. How are you? Project Christmas for the girls at the rehab center. If you would like to purchase anything for them for their Christmas bags, we would appreciate it. We have an Amazon wish list. And, yeah, they definitely would love. Let's see. I'm going to go get this wish list. You know what? I have the old wish list on here. Okay, so if anybody grabs that link, don't get it out of this one because, how are you, Melissa? I love you. How are you, Florina? It's boiling here today. It's been hot here too, big time. I've been sweating. But if you'd like to check out the Amazon wish list, it's called Project Christmas for the rehab center. And this is all items that we know for sure that they can have. Also, Friday night will be our first live stream for our new business. I Get It From My Mama. And we hope to see y'all there. It's going to be on Facebook and on TikTok. So we can't wait for that. That's going to be fun. Let's see what else. If you haven't joined that group on Facebook, please join it. It's called I Get It From My Mama. And it has a picture of me and my mom. And the top is turquoise and black picture, so you'll know it's us. Just click the join button so you can be. Hi, Lala from the living room. And hi, Dad. Love y'all. I'm very excited about this. We're getting everything ready this week for it, and Friday's going to be a lot of fun. So if you have pre-ordered on the website or on the Facebook page, we'll be getting those orders done as soon as possible. But we're still getting everything in and finalized. So if you would like to pre-order, you can. And I'm going to open pre-orders for the live games today. So if you want to order those, be watching today because I'm going to be posting that up. It'll be on my TikTok, Melissa. I changed the name of my TikTok, and it's now the business name. I Get It From My Mama. It's no longer What's Paranormal or Conversations with the Curious. So, because we are going to be going live on there with the business, not with the channel. So, that's going to be for that. I'm just working on changing I can't change the other part of it because I did it within 30 days. So, I have to wait and do that. But the name has been changed on there. So, and I believe, Melissa, all y'all are still mods on there. I hope so because I know I've seen several of these places that sell stuff on TikTok, and they can get wild with the comment section. So I'm hoping some of y'all can be there. But we do have mods on our Facebook group page as well. So yeah, it's just gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Me and Mom used to do all Shucks. If any of y'all remember that, we had a blast doing that. And of course, Mom wants to bring a lot of that stuff back as well. And so eventually we'll be adding to the website, and once we get the website going, we'll be adding to everything, the Facebook group and all that, and she'll be able to do some of her shucking and stuff again, so because I know she misses that. Let me check, Amanda. I think it is. Yes, that is Amanda. Thank you so much. So, Amanda posted the link for the wish list for the girls at the rehab center. And Florina posted the link for the Facebook group. So y'all make sure y'all go and check out both of those, please. Hi, Andre. Love you. When will his next surgery be, Melissa? Thank you, Jan. Marbles. Marbles. What are you talking about? Marbles. Oh, that does remind me, though, if you're on the Facebook group page for I Get It From My Mama, we have a contest going on there for the closest person to guess all the beads in the jar. We only got one right now that's close, so those aren't marbles. Those are beads. Guess the beads. They're glass beads, so I guess they could be marbles. No. Go back in a couple of weeks to schedule the next one. Okay. Hello, Nick Fadley. How are you? Well, we all know that, E.T. So Wednesday, I'm not sure what we're discussing yet. That's going to be a coffee and conversation with the curious, but I'm thinking we're going to be doing Roanoke on Wednesday. So y'all know there's a lot of mysterious things that happen in Roanoke, and that is like a very interesting read and very interesting thing. So I'm not going to read a whole bunch from that. I think we're just going to discuss it. So if y'all want to learn about Roanoke and stuff, make sure you have your coffee ready and you come in Wednesday morning at 9:30 Central Standard Time, and that's going to be fun. And all y'all in the southern states and even the northern states now, because it's crazy, um, you might want to bring iced coffee because it is a little warm. They're not marbles. They're glass beads. Shh. He has lost his marbles. I'm so excited for y'all to see a lot of the things that we're going to be doing, though. We have a lot of handmade gifts. The shop is going to be cool. It's going to be a lot of different things. It's not going to be just one specific thing. And we're going to have a lot of stuff in there that means a lot to us. We're going to have a lot of spiritual stuff in there and everything. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. Do not type marbles, ET. Type your guess. And the closest one without going over, and you only get one guess per person. I lost my marbles 2 ages ago. I think we all did, Amanda, honestly. But guys, definitely check out that Amazon wish list. We've got I think 2 things in right now. We're working on a third one. Mom donated necklaces for all the girls, and Joyanne did one of the lip balm deals for all the girls. All the stuff that's on that wish list is stuff that they definitely need. And so we would love to be able to get all of it for them. So please make sure you check it out and share it everywhere you get a chance to, because this is going to mean the world to these girls. You have no idea how much it's going to mean to them. Hi, Shawn. Love ya. Howdy. Also, make sure you go check out our bi-weekly winner this week was Amanda Barrett, and she chose to shout out Epic Adventures with Double D. So make sure you go check out Donnie's channel. I know he will greatly appreciate it. Let him know that Amy and Amanda sent you. And I will, E.T. I haven't been around Coty all this last week. I've been quarantined with my mom and dad. And Laney's taking care of Coty right now. So them two are two peas in a pod. So I can imagine they are ready to not be around each other. But I will tell him you all said hello. Yes, we are, E.T. My dad's better. I'm good. And my mom's getting there. So. Hi, Wendy. How are you? But yeah, we've got a lot going this week. We have a lot of things that I gotta do tomorrow to get ready for the opening of the business Friday. So yeah, it's gonna be a busy week, but I'm ready for it. So Wednesday we're gonna be talking about Roanoke. Don't miss it. It's gonna be fun. Also, yes, Amanda, keep everyone on our prayer list in your prayers. And if you have prayers, please send them on the prayer request page on Facebook. If you don't do Facebook, just message me or whatever. However you can get it to me, just get it to me in the comment section or whatever. All right, guys, we're going to get off here for today. I love you guys. You mean the world to us. We hope you know that. And we will see you on the next one. Love y'all. Bye.